Hi everyone, this is Bob from the Netskope product marketing team, and today I'd like to demonstrate for you Netskope for Salesforce. And there's a number of key capabilities that Netskope provides that basically helps you safely enable your Salesforce environment, whether it's preventing sensitive data leakage that's taking place into Salesforce, or perhaps preventing data exfiltration from taking place, or ultimately just governing usage. There's a lot of capabilities that Netskope brings to the table. So let's get into the demo. For the first part of this demo, let's focus on finding sensitive content that might have already made its way into Salesforce. Now, this is where Netskope Introspection comes into play. After a simple configuration that grants Netskope console access to Salesforce, your Salesforce environment is scanned to determine what type of data is stored. Now, once we have connection to Salesforce, the Introspection Dashboard starts with a top-level view of the number of files found in Salesforce, what your exposure is as far as the number of files that are private versus public versus shared internally or externally. Now, when you combine introspection with Netskope's advanced enterprise DLP, you also get insight into what content in your sales environment that has triggered a DLP policy violation. Now, this might be PII, PHI, PCI, or any content that matches a DLP profile that you've set up. You can also filter your file view by number of criteria. Now, in the case of this demo, let's filter this view by all the files that are publicly shared. Now that we have this filtered view, you can also choose a specific file and drill into the details and look at things like who the owner is, when the file was created and last edited, who it is being shared with, the trigger DLP policy, and also the associated audit trail. In addition to scanning content already stored in Salesforce, Netskope for Salesforce can also identify and perform policy enforcement on content both en route to or from Salesforce in real time. Let's say we want to prevent content with social security numbers from making its way into Salesforce. Let's start with an inline policy. With Netskope's Contextual Policy engine, we can bring a number of important elements into a policy. First, let's start with the target user for the policy. The default is all users, but for this particular policy, we want to focus on the sales department. Netskope ties into Active Directory so you can align your policy with a specific group or organizational unit. Let's choose sales. Let's skip the device and location settings and use the default of all. And we will specify Salesforce as the application. Next, we will enable DLP. Netskope's DLP is very powerful with support for more than 3,000 data identifiers, 500 file types, and advanced features such as fingerprinting, proximity, and exact match. Let's specify a custom DLP profile that we have set up to look specifically for social security numbers. Next, we will choose the activity that will trigger the policy. For this demo, we are worried about uploads of content to Salesforce that contain social security numbers, so we will choose upload. For the action to take, we can simply alert the admin and do nothing with the user, or we can block the activity outright or optionally give the user an opportunity to justify their actions. Let's choose block. Now, after naming and applying the policy, since Netskope sits in between the user and Salesforce, we can not only see the activity in real time, we can also perform real-time policy enforcement. In this case, here is a user on the sales team that is attempting to upload what looks like a file containing social security numbers. Netskope was able to see this activity, the policy we just created was triggered, and the activity was blocked. The last part of this demo focuses on data exfiltration, and specifically the situation when you have a user log into Salesforce with their corporate credentials, download content, and turn around and upload that content to their personal app, or perhaps an unsanctioned app that happens to be one of the thousands of apps that is in the Salesforce App Exchange. In this example, here is a user downloading a doc named Confidential, and shortly afterwards, uploading that same doc to their personal Dropbox. This is a typical blind spot, but thanks to Netskope's ability to see granular activity level detail across both sanctioned and unsanctioned cloud apps, along with the ability to correlate that activity, you can spot this potentially risky activity quickly. You get details on the user, the app they started with, the app they ended up with, and what the content was. You can also drill down into additional detail around this event, as well as surrounding events to get a comprehensive picture of the activity. Now, the next step might be to set up a policy in Netskope to prevent this from happening in the future.